Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take those sources you send our way, dig through them, and really pull out the key insights, the important stuff. Basically, we're giving you a shortcut to getting properly informed, connecting the dots. And today, wow, we're diving into something really unique. It's a project called Annabelle Rising, a spiritual electronic journey through love, awakening, and divine movement. And the sources make it clear this isn't just, an album. It's positioned as a whole immersive experience created by TATANKA. What's really interesting, we'll definitely get into this, is how it was made. It's described as 𝗧𝗔𝗧𝗔𝗡, which means it involved human creativity working with advanced AI tools, things like ChatGPT, Meta.ai, Refusion.com, Sonano.com, and integrating them with audio software like Audacity, even running on Ubuntu Linux. So this mix of human and AI right at the start, it's a pretty cutting-edge place to begin our exploration.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can sort of hear that blend, I think, in the sound itself. The sources call it a 12-track sonic resurrection.
Oh, yeah.
And it fuses some really distinct genres. You've got dance punk in there, ambient grunge, and this idea of sacred feminine energy. It sounds like it's going to be a very rich, very layered listen.
Definitely layered. And grounding it all, there's this core philosophical statement. It's from Yogi Bhajan. You do not have to search for light. You are the light. That seems to be the anchor. The project itself apparently uses this as a guiding principle, something Annabelle Rising invites you, the listener, to really explore inside yourself, like considering that light you already possess. So our mission for this deep dive then is to unpack what the creators call awakening the inner divine through sound, surrender, and the sacred feminine. They frame it as a luminous rite of passage, even a resurrection of the soul through the vibrational power of music, which is quite a statement.
It really is.
Yeah.
As we look through the material, it seems the album tries to guide you through these really visceral experiences: light, movement, rebirth. So for our chat today, we've sort of structured it around three key themes that get to the heart of it. First, embodiment as a path to transcendence. Second, reclaiming the sacred feminine. And finally, transformation through light, surrender, and love.
Okay, so it sounds like we're set to explore how Annabelle Rising isn't just something you hear, but something the sources suggest is meant to be lived. Let's dig into what that actually means and, why it's designed to resonate so deeply.
Right, so if Annabelle Writing is talking about a resurrection of the soul, where does that start? According to the sources, it begins right here, with our bodies. This first theme, embodiment as a path to transcendence.
That's quite a powerful idea, isn't it? It kind of flips the script on thinking the body is just a limitation.
It absolutely does. The sources suggest Annabelle Rising doesn't just say find divinity in the body. It actively frames the body as a sanctuary, like a temple for divine energy. You see tracks mentioned like temple in the flesh or electric grace, and they seem to portray embodiment not as like vanity, but as sacred presence. The lyrics, for instance, apparently trace the sacred geometry of skin and bone.
Sacred geometry of skin and bone.
Wow. Yeah, suggesting that the very shape of our bodies, the curves, the structure, it's like a spiritual blueprint. It turns the physical into a kind of map to deeper truth. So those deeply felt experiences, dancing, even just breathing, they're not distractions from the spiritual path. They are the path. Or portals, maybe. Instead of escaping the body, Annabelle seems to teach going deeper into it, rediscovering the divine in sensation, really inhabiting your skin fully, with reverence, no shame.
That's a huge shift, seeing the body as a gateway, not a cage. But how does that translate into the sound? You mentioned a sonic cocoon earlier. How do things like bass lines or synths actually create that feeling? And where does the AI gen part fit in?
Good question. That seems to be where the AI gen aspect is really key. The sources point to AI tools like Refusion.com being used specifically to craft those elements. Those pulsing bass lines you mentioned, the shimmering synths, ambient textures, they're apparently designed quite deliberately to wrap you in that cocoon. Tracks like Pulse Communion and Skin of Stars are highlighted. They supposedly carry you across dimensions, but also keep you grounded in your own body's rhythm. It's like the music, partly AI generated, is meant to be felt physically right in your core. The beat becomes breath, the melody, a mantra. So the AI isn't just like a gimmick here. It's a tool used intentionally to create this sort of kinetic prayer, aligning you with your own energy. It blurs the physical and the cosmic, and in that merging, helped by technology, embodiment becomes the message itself.
So the AI is helping engineer a kind of digital embodiment almost. What's the goal of that? Where does this deeper physical presence lead the listener, according to the album?
Exactly. Digital embodiment is a good way to put it. The ultimate aim seems to be experiencing transcendence not as some distant goal, but right here, right now, as a lived reality. The awakening in this narrative starts by stepping more fully into the world, not pulling back from it. The body isn't something to get past, it's something to inhabit with holiness. You know, when Annabelle sings about her cells glowing with starlight,
Yeah.
it's meant to remind you, the listener, that you're made of the same stuff, cosmic dust. And that truth, both biological and spiritual, reveals the divinity inherent in being human and having a human form. So embodiment is like the first altar when we realize we've always carried inside.
Okay, moving from the self, the next big theme is reclaiming the sacred feminine. This feels like it pulses through everything in the project, doesn't it? The notes, the images. How does Annabelle Rising approach this?
Oh, absolutely. It's described as the heartbeat of the whole thing. The sources really emphasize how the sacred feminine, shown as powerful, yes, but also vulnerable, radiant, is woven throughout. Annabelle, the protagonist, isn't portrayed as just a muse or, an object. She's presented as a high priestess of her own journey. Songs like Let It Burn or Gravity and Grace are mentioned as narrating her reclaiming power, but through healing and presence, not through, domination.
Right.
Her body is honored as sacred ground, not something to hide or control. The lyrics talk about rising from ashes, shedding fear and shame, stepping into the full spectrum of what the album calls feminine divinity. It feels both personal and archetypal, speaking to those universal patterns of female experience, female strength.
And the visuals really seem to back that up. They're described almost as a narrative correction, especially for Black women. You have these figures levitating, dissolving into stars, radiating light. In a culture that often minimizes or misrepresents Black femininity, these images seem to offer unapologetic wholeness.
That's a really important point.
Yeah, and the focus on natural hair, modest but powerful clothing, beauty that isn't sexualized, it feels significant, especially since the voice behind it is a former model. It suggests inner radiance matters more than the surface, redefining being seen, being sacred.
And the sound itself mirrors this too. You have these ethereal vocals apparently floating over distorted guitars, electronic pulses, blending softness and strength. The result is described as a sound that doesn't quite fit neatly anywhere, fierce but fluid, disciplined but wild. Kind of like the spiritual feminine itself, nurturing, resilient, intuitive, fierce. And you can imagine how AI tools, maybe suno.com for unique vocal textures or refusion.com for blending those sounds, could really enhance that feeling of a new, complex feminine voice. Through Annabelle, you're invited to experience femininity beyond stereotypes as something universal. Her voice isn't just singing, it's like it's summoning something ancient back into the world.
Okay, that leads us nicely into our final theme, transformation through light, surrender, and love. This sounds like the ultimate destination the album wants to take you on, towards divine wholeness. If someone's feeling fragmented, how does Annabelle Rising actually guide them through that process, practically speaking?
That's really the core promise, isn't it? Moving from that feeling of being scattered, fragmented, towards what the album calls divine wholeness. Complete integration, really. Tracks like Awake the Light, Shadows Cast Light, and the title track Rising Forever are apparently key here. They guide you through the stages, the first stirrings of awakening, facing self-doubt, and then arriving at self-realization. And light. Light is the central metaphor, like a golden thread running through it all.
Right.
Not just visual light, but spiritual illumination. The kind that dispels inner shadows, helps you reclaim parts of yourself you'd forgotten. Annabelle's journey is meant to mirror yours. You fall, you burn, you rise again.
And there's this interesting angle on surrender being crucial. You mentioned the track Ecstatic Collapse, where she lets go of control, even understanding. Just allows herself to be overwhelmed by beauty, by divine love. It frames surrender not as weakness, but as the path to power.
Exactly. The lyrics seem to encourage letting go of ego, expectations, pain, becoming fluid so something bigger can come in. It's almost like the transformation happens through softening, not through constantly striving and pushing.
Softening, not striving. I like that.
And love ultimately is presented as the glue holding it all together, the binding force behind the metamorphosis, whether it's romantic love, cosmic love, divine love. It's the great awakener in this narrative. In Hearts in Orbit, for example, souls intertwine beyond time, representing union not just with another person, but with, the all.
Wow.
It's not love as a transaction, it's framed as love as fundamental truth. And in that truth, transformation is inevitable. It's the engine. Through love, the inner divine awakens and everything flows from there.
What an incredibly expansive journey the sources describe Annabelle Rising taking us on, really aiming for that soul-level resurrection feel and using AI to explore some pretty ancient ideas.
Absolutely. By digging deep into these themes, embodiment as transcendence, reclaiming the sacred feminine, transformation through surrender and light. The album really tries to function as what the sources call a living ritual of awakening.
Yeah.
Each track, each lyric, the visuals too, they're all meant to be like a sacred mirror for your own journey, your own spiritual unfolding.
Yeah. And it all circles back to that core message, doesn't it? The empowering idea running through it all. That the light we're looking for, it's already inside us.
Right. So here's maybe a final thought to leave you with. In a world that's often full of digital noise, maybe spiritual disconnect, Annabelle Rising doesn't just seem to offer an escape hatch. Instead, it seems to want to whisper something radiant. And that whisper, if you really listen, could become a roar. It's almost challenging you to consider that you don't actually have to search for the divine out there somewhere. You just have to rise into it within yourself.